Hey gorgeous, welcome back to another Sims 4 speed building video. I hope you're all doing well. So today we're building yet another New Orleans American townhouse with a double gallery, which is one of my favorite styles to build in, and I have built quite a few of those on this channel. Yeah, this one is actually going to be for an elderly couple. I don't often build for elderly couples, so I kind of wanted to have a little bit of a grandma core aesthetic in this build. This house is also going into my save file. And the Sims that are going to live here, you're probably not familiar yet because I made them up. As you know, I'm making a save file based on townies that were introduced in either The Sims 2 or The Sims 3, and I kind of changed up the storyline because this is in an alternate universe or on an alternate timeline, if you will. But these Sims, I made them up myself. However, they are still related to one of the families, which is in fact the Langerek family. So if you don't know the Langerek family, I believe Kaylin Langerek, she was first introduced in The Sims 2, and she was a maid for a couple of the households, and she had an affair with Daniel Pleasant, and she was also seeing Don Lothario at the same time. But then you all know Don Lothario, who is a bit of a womanizer, so he was also seeing both the Caliente twins and actually engaged to be married to Cassandra Goth. So I love that scandalous Sims 2 storyline. But yeah, then in The Sims 3, the Langerek family also lived in Sunset Valley, and Kaylin was a kid in The Sims 3, and she lived with her parents, her brother, and her auntie. And I also have built a house for her auntie in Willow Creek. So she lives in Willow Creek basically with her family, and her family consists. Oh, it's getting a bit complicated. I'm sorry, but Langerek's or Kaylin Langerek's auntie, her name is Zelda May. She married Miss Adelola Musa, and they adopted 2 children. And so the parents of Adelola Musa, so this is basically Kaylin Langerek's auntie's parents, if that makes sense. They live here and they are an elderly couple. I imagine them to be retired. I'm not sure what kind of careers they have done in the past, but right now they're just trying to enjoy life. They love gardening. They are quite self-sustainable. So I enjoyed putting a chicken coop in here. And also I have a couple of planter boxes inside and outside. So they can grow some of their own vegetables, fruits and vegetables, which I think is quite nice. So yeah, they live in Newcrest in the fancier area in town. It's the part where there's also like a golf course. You can see a golf course in the distance, and they live here together with the Burb family. So the pink mansion that you can spot in the background is actually the mansion where the Burb family is going to live. And next door, I plan on moving in the Burb family, which we also know, I believe, I'm not good with names, but I believe it's Jennifer Burb. She is the sister of Daniel Pleasant, so they are kind of related to the Pleasant family. So I imagine this family, they're called the Musa family. I forgot their names, I'm sorry. It's been a while since I made these Sims, but their last name is definitely Musa. Yeah, so they live next door to the Burbs, and I imagine them to get along quite well with the Burb family. However, they probably won't get along as well with the what are they called? The Broke family, because I have gone over the Broke family storyline in my last video, so definitely check that out if you haven't seen it already. But the Broke family, we knew them from The Sims 2, and in my save file, they actually fell into quite a bit of money. So in The Sims 2, they were quite poor. But there were some interesting things going on. I believe they have like some very expensive items in their house, which you can then sell for money, but it's not quite clear how they got got those items. So yeah, there's lots of wild theories about the Broke family. I don't really have one myself. I know a lot of the things were probably oversights, and I think the most plausible one for as to why they can afford those more expensive items in The Sims 2 was probably because Dustin Broke, who is Brandy and Skip Broke's son, he was actually in the criminal career, so he probably stole those items. Where was I? Right, so the Musa family doesn't get along too well with the Broke family because since the Broke family fell into quite a bit of money, they're basically rich now. They have become a little bit arrogant, you know. They let that money get to their head, and they are no longer regarded as a very sympathetic family, because I believe in The Sims 2, Brandy was described as a very like kind and friendly sim. But right now, since they have become a little bit richer, she's not so kind anymore. Unfortunately, she's become quite the materialistic sim. I imagine they don't go well together with the Musa family, who I imagine to be a very wholesome, a very sociable, nice family. These are very, very friendly Sims that live here. So anyway, we have actually already moved on to the interior. As you can see, for the exterior, I wanted the area surrounding the house to be very lush. I imagine that these Sims, they spend quite a bit of time tending their garden and whatnot. So I wanted it, to have lots of nice flowers. Again, as always, I use the cottage living debug gardening, because it's just like those roses, they are just the best in game, and I love to size them up to create a sort of larger rose bush, if you will. And then on the interior, I went for a bit of a grandma core aesthetic, but I also wanted it to be very like light and airy, because the outside, the house, the exterior is quite light. It's like white with like a sky or a light blue. So I wanted to kind of carry on that theme on the interior as well. And I actually did quite a few oopsies with this build. I have been a little bit tired this past week, and I built this house on Wednesday. Apologies for a couple of mistakes that I made, a few that stand out to me. I imagine these two Sims to have pets. And I had written this down, and they were supposed to be dogs. I imagined them to have two little dogs. And as you can see, for some reason, like I had like a brain fart or something, and I started putting in heaps of cat stuff. But I eventually end up deleting the cat trees and the litter box. And I replace, I do keep a couple of the little pet beds and the bowls, like the food bowls, and a little toy chest I believe I include in this build as well. But I don't think I recorded that, but I do end up fixing that. So the version that you'll find on the gallery does not have the cat stuff in it, but it does have everything you need if your Sims have a dog or two dogs even. And then another mistake that I made was when I built the kitchen, I completely forgot about including a fridge, which is, quite an essential kitchen appliance. So I've no idea why I've forgotten that. It's actually not the first time. I believe I've forgotten about it once before when I built the Caliente house, and when I went to play test the house, I found out that I did not have a fridge, because I always there's always a couple of things that I want to test. I always want to make sure that, my Sims can get into the bed, and that the Sims can use the bathrooms, and of course that they can use the kitchen. So all the important stuff to make sure that it all works. So if you guys want to download this house, that you don't run into any issues. I used to be building the kitchen right now, which I did not include a fridge in, but in the screenshots you will see the version with the fridge actually. And also I was struggling quite a bit with this kitchen, coming up with a color scheme. As you can see, I've just changed the white counters to a more browny countertop. And I think I even tried out like some darker greeny colors, like a turquoisey colors, because I also included a little breakfast nook, which was the chairs and tables from the paranormal stuff back in like that turquoisey color. So I wanted to tie that into some other furniture as well, so it doesn't look like a completely random, color. But yeah, I think in the end I'm quite happy with how the kitchen turned out. I quite like that brick sort of splashback that I used. And I also really enjoyed sizing up the range hood, because I don't often do that, but it makes it look like the stove is a bit more built in, if that makes sense. Like it makes it look also a little bit more old-fashioned or classical, if you will, and I quite enjoyed that. And then also I remember struggling a lot with putting the dining area together, because it was actually quite a large space. I wish it was just slightly big or smaller, apologies, because like it looked so empty. And because these Sims, they have, of course, their child and their daughter-in-law, they live in Willow Creek together with their adopted children. So I imagine that, those Sims, they live in a somewhat smaller shotgun-style house. It's a large house. It's a double-story shotgun house, but it's not as large as this one. So I can imagine that they would like to come over here, and spend time with the grandparents, and that they would have, an additional space and some toys for when the grandkids come over, that they can, entertain themselves. And at first I wanted to put those in the dining area, but it made it look just too messy, and I didn't really like how it looked. And looking back at it now, I quite like this longer table, and I feel like it would have been fine if I probably just included maybe 2 plants and then that's it. Like I don't have to put a lot of stuff in it. But as I was building this, I felt like it was just too empty. And sometimes you have that, and especially I had it especially with this build, where whilst I was building this, I felt like I was really struggling to make it look good, and I changed a lot actually throughout this build. And then when I was watching back the footage of this build, I was like, oh, I wish I actually kept, the initial furniture. I should have just gone with my first instinct, because actually how the dining room looks right now, it's a bit too messy for my taste. Also, I don't believe I actually keep that easel there. But on the other hand, I feel like it quite suits these Sims. I imagine them to be very, family friendly, and I quite enjoy putting in round dining tables. Like I have a round dining table in real life, and it's just, I don't know, it feels a little bit more cozy. It feels like whilst you're sitting at a round dining table, like everyone is a bit more equal, if you will. I'm not sure what it is, but I don't know, I just enjoy it more. It's weird. I'm just weird like that. I'm sorry. So anyway, guys, moving on to the upstairs portion of this house. I included an additional sitting space, which I imagine that maybe if the grandchildren come over, they can just go over here, maybe play on the upstairs sitting room. I basically just included this because it looks nice. It's a little bit of a sunroom as well. It has a lot of windows, and I imagine that maybe grandma loves to sit here and just read a book or knit or something. And then the downstairs living room is more of a guest, where you would have your guests, or where you would watch TV. I did include a TV in this build. It's a smaller TV, but I don't know. I felt like a big flat screen TV didn't really suit this build, and it also didn't really suit the people that I imagine living here. So yeah, in the end, this house has 2 bedrooms two full bathrooms, both ensuite bathrooms, and also a little powder room downstairs. I'm gonna have to be honest, I'm not super happy with how the bedrooms turned out, um, because, like, again, the rooms were just a little bit too big, and I could have easily fit more bedrooms in here. But what I imagine maybe would have happened to this house is that because this is inhabited by basically only a single couple, so it wouldn't make much sense for them to have loads of, you know, different or separate rooms. So maybe they would have knocked a couple of walls down because they enjoy having a bit more space. It becomes easier for them to walk around. I mean, maybe if you get a little bit older, walking is not as easy anymore. So having more space to perhaps use your what do you call it, like, I know the Dutch word, like a little, it's like a little trolley that you can use for support when you're walking. It would be a bit easier. On the other hand, like, there's also just stairs in this house, so you wouldn't really take that trolley up the stairs. I don't think that would be a bit odd, but I guess that's what happened. It doesn't make a lot of sense for these Sims to have like a house with like 4 bedrooms when it's just the 2 of them living here. I do have this one additional bedroom, which is just like a spare bedroom, and I imagine that when the kids or the grandkids come to stay, this is where they will sleep. I also imagine that that additional couch might be some kind of like a couch that can be converted into a bed. Of course, that's just make believe because it doesn't really in The Sims, but I don't think you can actually have Sims over for like a sleepover. Well, I mean, you can, but I think it's only like a romantic interaction. I don't think you can just, you know, ask your family to come over and spend the night. But yeah, so this is actually the final room that I recorded. I believe the one of the ensuite bathrooms. The bathrooms are nothing special, but they have everything that your Sims might need, and they completely function. So yeah, I think I'm just going to leave this voiceover right here. I really hope that you did enjoy this video. If you did, please leave me a like or a comment, or feel free to subscribe if you want to see more of my future videos. And I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye!